Good morning. First off, I wanted to say thank you to Chris and the team and Arvin. You guys travel around the world. I speak at events. I attend events. This is really cool. You guys did a phenomenal job bringing everyone together, so thank you for that. Big round of applause for Chris and the team, everybody. So I'm going to figure out how to use this thing. This is where you can submit your questions while I'm talking, and we'll try and leave some time at the end. I've got a lot to cover today. Chris asked me to cover copywriting and advertorials, and honestly, I could probably speak for a day on each of those topics, so I'm going to try and cram a lot in here. So if you have questions, feel free to scan the QR code and send them, and I'll try and answer as many as I can at the end. And if I don't get to your question, then please just hunt me down during the day, and I'll answer anything for you guys. So who am I? I'm Steve Earle. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada. I've been writing health and supplement copy since 2014, which doesn't feel like that long ago, but I guess in e-commerce, it's a long time ago. I've gotten millions of views, millions of dollars sold with my copy. Very grateful. One of my mentors and close friends, Stephen Georgi, who's one of the best copywriters in the world, has said that I'm in the top 1% of health copywriters working today. So very grateful for that. If you don't know Stefan, please give him a follow. He's honestly one of the best and most successful copywriters in the world today, so please check him out. I've written winning campaigns for 8- and 9-figure brands like VShred, Agora, Native Path, Pure Health Research, Up Wellness, who I still write for today, BioTrust, and others, pretty much the who's who of health and supplement copy. I wanted to touch first a little bit on copy before diving into advertorials, because for a lot of people here, running your stores and building your funnels, it all starts with writing effective copy. How do you reach out to that customer? How do you tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, come over here, look at what we're doing, we have a solution to your problem? And while I could give an entire presentation on how to write effective copy, I thought I'd distill it down into 3 key things that I tend to focus on when I'm getting started on a new campaign. The first and foremost is research. So you've really got to know your customer better than anybody else. A lot of the founders that I work with that have scaled their brands to 8 and 9 figures, it's not that they are the best copywriters, it's that they're obsessed with their customer. They just know, like they think about what's going on in the mind of their customer while they're sleeping, so that they can figure out how to reach them better, how to solve their problems better, and how to connect with them on a deeper level. So they also understand all the different various avatars for your customer. So that, what do I mean by avatar? I mean all the different types of customer you may have in your market for your product. If you're selling a beauty product, it might be someone who is looking to solve saggy arms, or someone that's looking to solve under eye bags. Maybe your product can do 5 or 6, 7 different things, and you've got to figure out, how do I market to the different people, the different avatars in my niche, so that I can find different ways to market to different segments and they can use my product differently. And then speaking the language that your customer speaks. I don't just mean the native language they speak, but the words they use. That's part of my research process, is trying to go into forums, reaching out to people, customer post-purchase surveys. All of those things let me know what words are my customers using and how do I speak to them in their language, right? A lot of us sell to the U.S. market. I wish the world was different sometimes, but the U.S. market, they say the average reading level in the U.S. market is around a 6th grade level. And actually, people who read above a 6th grade level, when they're on the internet, they actually are busy just scrolling through things. Their level of understanding things is about a 6th grade level. So really, making your content simple and easy to understand by using the words and the jargon that your industry is talking about. And now in 2025, as opposed to 10 years ago when I got started, we've got this cool new friend who's shown up in the last couple months. I don't have time to go deep into it, but I am using this all the time for deep research. It's a complete game changer. Stuff that used to take me 4, 5, 6 weeks to research for a campaign, I'm doing in a day. For example, I came up writing 40, 50-minute VSLs for some of the large brands that I mentioned before. Writing those 40, 50-minute sales presentations used to take me 4 to 6 weeks. I just wrote one on Monday, start to finish, an entire day because of this tool right here. So if you're not using deep research, it's super powerful. It can really help you understand your customer at a deep level. And if you want to talk more about it, I'd be happy to. I don't have time today, but we can talk about it sort of off the stage, and I can tell you how I'm using some of that stuff. Second thing is mechanisms. I won't go too deep into this, but if you're writing health and supplement copy or in the beauty space or anything like that, you really want to have an understanding of mechanisms, which is kind of three parts, right? You have a unique mechanism of the problem, which is the problem that your customer didn't know they had. You want to explain to them, what truly is causing their problem at the root core, something that they've never heard before, that they can go, oh, I had no idea I was suffering from this. Maybe that's why these 8 or 9 things have never worked for me, which allows you to open up a door or a window into the conversation and show them the unique mechanism of the solution, the thing that they didn't know they needed. So therefore, if this is my problem, this is actually your solution, and it's why none of the other creams or workout plans have ever worked for you before, and then showing them how your product bridges that gap. It gets them from the problem that they're actually suffering from into the solution they actually need, and how your product solves that uniquely, differently than anything else in the market. And the third one, probably the most important for a lot of people in the room who may be just getting started, copy and swipes. I'd be nothing without the people that came before me. So it's really the cheat code to writing good copy, especially if you're getting started, being able to find good copy in the marketplace and borrow it. They say good writers borrow and great writers steal, copywriters swipe. That really is the key to it. One thing I'm going to do, because I didn't have much time to cover copy today, I'm going to share with everybody at the end nearly 500 gigabyte swipe file of things, of sales pages, advertorials, upsells, VSLs, all kinds of stuff that I've collected over 13 years of doing this. So I will share that with you guys at the end. So, and then finally on copywriting, I get asked all the time, what books do you read? How did you learn copywriting? How did you get started? If I had to pick just 3 or 4 books, it'd be these ones. Breakthrough Advertising, which you will see online for as high as $300. If you want it for just $99, I'm not affiliated at all. I just know the guy who runs this website, and he sells that book for the lowest price you can find it. Breakthrough Advertising, one of the best marketing books ever written. My favorite copywriting book for practical knowledge on writing headlines, subheadlines, leads, the Adweek Copywriting Handbook by the legend Joseph Sugarman, and then the 16-word sales letter by Uvaldo Albuquerque. If you want to learn about mechanisms, like I just briefly touched on, that book is phenomenal for learning about mechanisms. And as a bonus, no sales message starts without a great lead, and that's one of the best books ever. Michael Masterson is one of the founders of Agora Research, which is a billion-dollar publisher that's been around since before the internet began. All right, with that out of the way, we can kind of jump into my advertorial masterclass, the 3 most important parts of any advertorial. This is actually a little wink at what are known as native ads. How many people have seen an ad like this before on the internet? Raise your hand. So you've probably seen that on sites like NBC or ABC or news sites. What those will do is grab attention. They're usually weird, wacky, strange looking, and when you click those, you're dropped on a page that looks like a news article, but it's actually an advertisement. That's what an advertorial is. It's a blending of editorial content and advertising content in a way that doesn't feel like an advertisement. Also, I wanted to ask, how many people have seen these before? Anybody? Maybe, maybe not. These are offline advertorials. So I get a lot of people saying to me, well, advertorials are so new, how do I get started with them? And I always remind them, there's nothing new in marketing. Everything old is new again, right? These have been going on. I've written some of these, actually. These first 2 here are 2 that I wrote. When I got started with my mentor, I was writing 1,000-word advertorials in local newspapers in the United States. All of these would drive to a phone number where they would call my call center and we'd sell the product over the phone. So this has been going on for a very, very long time, since the 50s in America, where they would sell you stuff in magazines. So all the elements that you see here are now sort of replicated, and they show up again and again and again in the online world. So none of it's new. There's just new ways of doing it. So one thing I hear over and over again from brand owners is, we tried advertorials, they don't work for us. My response to that is, how many did you try? Raise your hand if you've been using Advertorials already in your funnels. Anybody? Few people. Okay, this will be a good session then. One of my close friends, Brandon Ham, who's actually the reason why I'm speaking here today, he introduced me to Chris. If profitable advertorials were easy, everyone would write them. They're not. You'll spend hours researching, writing, and editing, and they'll still flop, but one winner can drop your CAC by 20% and scale your spend overnight. That's why whenever we launch funnels, we launch with advertorials. It may not be a winner the first time or second time or third time, but it's such an important part of the conversion process that we'll keep trying until we get it right, and once we crack it, our funnels scale. We get a better customer and a better overall experience in our funnels. So they can work for almost any brand, niche, and product, and I've got a few examples here to show you. They're not your typical niches, so you'll see they work for any. The only place I've not seen advertorials like really do well is fashion. I'm sure you could figure it out, but I've just never seen any take off for fashion. Everything else, I've seen it for laundry detergent pods to car detailing products. It'll work really anywhere that you can create a story for your brand or product. They'll lower your CAC, they'll increase your CBR, and they'll improve your cold traffic performance. And like I said, they often don't work on the first try. You've got to keep testing. So what are they, right? I saw only a few hands go up for advertorials. So you're probably wondering, what are advertorials? And I'm going to show you a few examples so you can see them in the wild. Like I said, they look and feel like a regular article or blog post, and it's actually very cleverly crafted advertisement. Advertorials are designed to tell a compelling story that draws readers in, educates them about a product or service, and then nudges them towards taking immediate action. And when I say nudge, it could be a nudge. Sometimes it's a hard push. Depends how aggressive you want to be with these. By blending the informative content with persuasive marketing, they build trust with your audience and they drive conversions. And one of the reasons why I love advertorials and writing them is it really is the conversion piece in your funnel. A lot of people will say, well, conversion happens on the PDP page or the checkout page, and that's true, but the conversion really starts in the mind of the customer in your pre-sale pages, in your advertorials, in your sales message where you're handling their objections. So you get a better educated customer with advertorials. Like I said, their objections are handled and they can make an easier buying decision. They allow us to expand our avatar set, so who we're targeting. We may have an advertorial that, like I said, is targeting somebody for one of our beauty products for sagging arms, and another one that is for under eye bags, and another one that's for wrinkles. And we'll test and see which ones convert best, which avatar is working best for us, and it allows us to unlock other avatars to reach more people. Very quickly, they answer important questions. So like I said, with those objections, your customer is finding out about your product through Facebook or wherever you're advertising, and maybe they clicked on your ad. That's just them putting up their hand saying, I'm interested. Something here interests me, but I have more questions. I need more information before I can make a buying decision. And they're looking to get usually one of these 5 questions answered, and advertorials are great for them. They tell them why they should care, what is this new solution or what is this product? How does it give them what they want, achieve the results? What are all the things that it can do for them, all of the benefits? And then where can they buy it, and why should they get it right now? Not tomorrow, not next week. Why should they get it right now, that urgency? So all those elements are in our advertorials, and we're going to break some of that down today. For us, advertorials have definitely helped us drop our acquisition costs by 20% or more. They allow us higher scale, in some cases 20, 30K a day. I launched a new brand back in September, October. We launched it with an advertorial. We got lucky. The first one scaled for us right away. And since then, we've done $1 million through that advertorial very, very quickly without barely building out the brand much at all. Because we found the core message that resonated with our audience, put it in an advertorial, and it was able to help us scale the funnel really, really quickly. And they open up new networks like Native and GDN and different places other than just Meta. I know a lot of us are advertising on Meta. Raise your hand if you're frustrated on a daily basis advertising on Meta. It's a very frustrating platform that gives you inconsistent results. So opening up other networks can be a really big benefit for your brand. But most importantly, advertorials give us a better customer. We find that when they've come through a funnel, rather than just taking them from an ad to a PDP page, we drop them on an advertorial that's working. they buy more from us, they refund the product less, they share it with their friends more. We just get an overall better customer because we've answered most of their questions by the time they reach our sales pages. And that's kind of just repeating what I said. So what we'll cover today, I want to cover 2 of the most common and powerful advertorials I see working today, the 3 most important parts of any of those advertorials. We touched a bit already on copywriting for advertorials, and then I'm going to show you some examples of high-converting advertorials, proper advertorial research, and then how we test advertorials as part of the CRO process. When we build advertorials, a lot of times we're using GemPages. I think GemPages is great for advertorials because it allows you to get ideas up quickly. So I wanted to first touch on the number 1 mistake business owners make with advertorials. They don't know what great advertorials look like. So I wanted to show, so I'm going to break down 2 of these advertorials together. This is what advertorials look like. They look like articles, they look like pieces of information, and at the end they're going to have a sales message. So this one here is a very popular listicle that has scaled for multiple years, and this one here as well scaled to multiple 8 figures for a car detailing brand. The 2 most common types of advertorials I see working today are, like I said, we're going to break down long-form ones. So these ones are about 1,000 words long, and these ones here are listicles that you probably see 10 reasons why, 9 reasons why this product is doing X, Y, Z. This one's very popular, so we'll start with this one, breaking it down. So with a listicle, listicles are great because it's kind of like giving your customer a quick hit of the number of reasons why they should try it or why others have tried it or the results they're going to get. So with this one for Javi Coffee, which you've probably seen in the marketplace, then with a nice, easy 10 reasons why, there's usually some sort of lead or starting section to introduce them into the product with social proof. These guys just have a quick benefit statement at the top. I've seen ones that have as much as 200 or 300 words at the top talking about the lead or the big breakthrough or having more social proof in it. So you can really customize what you want in the top section, but they went with a quick hit, just a quick summary of their product because they've probably got a lot of awareness in the market. And then it just runs through, the top 10 things, so it pays off what they're promising them. 10 reasons why this guilt-free iced coffee is taking over in 2025. And it just runs through, the 10 reasons why. 2, 3, 4. Really simple to build, really easy to get up, really quick to test. That's what I love about listicles. And they can be super, super branded, like these guys, or they can be what I would call like the ugly pages. And believe it or not, ugly pages often convert better. But if you're somebody who really cares about your brand equity and you want to make sure everything looks on brand for you, this is a proof of an example for Javi Coffee that they use a formula that they repeat over and over and over again in their listicles, and then they just elevate the branding and the branded look of the images, and that brings a nice brand feel to their pages. And then the final part of the listicle is obviously the call to action, right? So imagine this page, you had the top part we showed in the first slide, and then you have your 10 reasons why, and then you'll have a Johnson box here that offers them the deal, where they can get it, and they click and they move to the product page. Sometimes these guys will switch things up, and they'll put this in the middle of the advertorial and at the end, just because they notice maybe only 40 or 50% of viewers are making it to the halfway mark in their advertorial. That's one thing that's great about GemPages is being able to look at where people are engaging with the page, and you can notice, hey, we're losing 45% of people around the halfway point. Maybe we should put a call to action in the middle so those people see that and don't drop off the page. Best practices for listicles. Like I said, they answer questions and handle objections. The product is directly featured. They have useful content. That's very important. They include your USP, what's unique about your product, and they include usually branded images. One thing that I will say about listicles is a lot of mistakes people make is they just pick 10 random things about their product and throw them on a page. Not a bad place to start, but what we do with listicles is we want to make sure as many of those things, whether it's 10 things or 9 things or 7 things, actually matter to the customer. So we'll use post-purchase surveys. We'll talk to our customer. We'll figure out what are the top 3, 4, 5 questions that they're asking all the time, and make sure those are in your listicle because that's what they're looking to get answered. There's no point in running a listicle if you don't have the right information to give to your customer. So Pay attention to that. Talk to your customers. Figure out what they're leaving in their comments, what they're saying in the post-purchase surveys, and make sure that those things are getting answered up front in your listicle. I'm going to jump quickly through this one, but these ones are much harder to do. These are long-form advertorials. These are typically, they feel like news stories that are just out in the wild, and you're reading a piece of content before you even realize you're on an advertisement. They're usually anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 words. I've seen ones as long as 2,000. And they follow a pretty specific structure. The first and most important part of the long-form advertorials have elements that you can see in this first slide, which is really the top of the advertorial. Your headline, your top image, and your lead. We see most of our CRO efforts happen right here on this part of the page, right? So, we will test the headline. We'll definitely test multiple versions of the image, and then we'll test that lead section. In fact, we've seen bumps as high as 20, 30% in conversion just by changing the first sentence and nothing else. So that's how much the lead and the first part of your advertorial matters. And then as we move down the page, you're going to see it just looks like a standard, almost boring article, right? That will be the next section as you go down the page. It's usually smattered with images that kind of show off what's happening in the text, right? And they tell a story about anything really. It could be a story about what your customer went through, the struggles they went through, the breakthrough they found. In this one, it's someone talking about a product for detailing their car. So it's not a traditional product. It's not like a beauty product or a supplement or anything that you might see in some of the larger markets. And I wanted to show you that because this advertorial scaled to well over 8 figures and pretty much made the brand a 9-figure brand almost overnight. I believe they still run it. You can search for the headline that you had in the last slide and find it online. It's also a great design. It's also, if you're using GemPages and you want to design beautiful looking advertorials, this is a design that I've taken myself, given it to our designers in GemPages and say, hey, make this for us. As you move through the entire page, you're just reading through a story about how this person came to find out about this product and how it solved the problem that they were struggling with before they found it. After you've finished that story part, that stuff is really important, then you can get to the product introduction. So you can see how by this point, it no longer quite feels like an article. You're more into the advertisement part of the advertorial. You're going to see the product introduction, the benefit bullets, what it can actually do for you as you're using it. And then you get into things that you guys probably see on your PDP pages, which is something that we'll do. We'll take stuff right off of our PDP pages that we know works really, really well. Things like comparison charts, testimonials, how it compares, so showing them a juxtaposition on our product versus others in the market. And then, of course, once we're at the bottom of the advertorial, we're into that push to move them to the PDP page, right? So it's where can I get it? Their first call to action, social proof, what does this mean for you? And then information about the deal. What's the deal that we're offering? How are we going to get them to take this as a new customer, right? Often we'll offer savings as high as 40, 50, 60%, because what this is all about is achieving that new customer into our funnel, right? So we don't mind, even if we're negative on the front end of these advertorials, we don't mind because we know we're going to acquire them maybe on a subscription and they'll buy more later on. Long-form advertorials best practices, whether you're using a personal story or sort of a breaking news story, these are some things that I see over and over again in long-form advertorials. Again, you want it to feel like it's a blog post or a piece of content, and the more you can make it useful to them, the better it's going to perform. You've really got to make it useful to them. They're often written in the first-person point of view. What do I mean by that? Written as if it's from my perspective, as if it's the experience that I had. For example, I've got a new hydration brand where we sell hydrogen water bottles. I'm very passionate about those. I must have tried 10 of them myself and spent over $1,000 testing them all. And I thought, hey, that's a pretty good idea for an advertorial. Maybe I'll just tell my story about how I tried all these water bottles. None of them worked for me, and so I created my own. Very simple story, very simple structure, and that's the one that scaled for us, to 7 figures. Like I said, the headline, the top image, and the first sentence, those are the big needle movers. Make sure you include your USP and sort of have an image for every new section. You'll see different advertorials have a different take on that. They maybe have an image in every section, and some of them have no images for quite a while, and it's just text. Totally up to you how you want to modulate your advertorials. The breaking news ones, very similar. They resemble a news story. Maybe they're written in the third person instead of the first person. And they, again, include the USP and image for new section. I just want to drive this point home. Like I said, these are the three most important parts of your advertorials. They're going to drive the largest amounts of your conversions. So that's where we spend most of our testing efforts, is here on the headline, the top image, and the first sentence. By the way, if you don't follow Brandon, he is the king of advertorials, even more than me. I've learned a lot from him. So give Brandon a follow on Twitter if you, or X now, if you don't already. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. If you guys want to talk about copy afterwards, I will go through this stuff in detail with you. Like I said, those three most important parts, the first of which is headlines, right? We do a whole bunch of different types of testing for our headlines, and I can get into a whole speech on headlines. Basically, for advertorials, you want to be running headlines that are either blind or visible. What do I mean by blind or visible? Blind is where you don't mention the product or that it is a product. You want the person to feel like it's an advert, it's an article, it's a piece of content, right? You're not going to mention up front that it's a product because they're going to land on the page and go, oh, I'm being sold something right away, and perhaps they bounce. So blind is one way to test, and then visible, dog won't stop licking its paws. This probiotic chew is the solution. So they're being upfront, hey, we're going to sell you something, but that's okay because what we're going to give you is so valuable. Two different ways to test headlines. I tend to write 20 or 30 different headlines for every advertorial, and then we'll pick 4 or 5 of them and start testing them. We'll split test our top 3. Here's a quick little formula I do. If you're in the health space, I kind of run my advertorial headlines through this. 3 different formulas that I will use over and over again with some examples. Images, you've probably seen a whole bunch of advertorials out there that have different types of images. You can make them as branded as you want. This one's great because it has a split image that shows what's going on for the dog and then shows the product and has some social proof on it. Here's some more image examples. So like there's the zoom in method, like zoom in on what the product's actually doing in a real life setting. The split images, great for before and afters, showing how the product works or how it improves their lives. Great if you're in the beauty niche. These are great. You can show the before and after that someone went through. Using arrows to draw attention. This one I already showed you with the social proof. So you want to add intrigue, curiosity, draw attention to the object in your images. Those are kind of great examples of advertorial images. And then I'll go through this one quickly. The first sentence or the lead is really where you have the angle of the advertorial. Leads are usually between 100 and 650 words, and your hooks are that first sentence, that first 1 or 2 sentence punch. Good hooks, bold statements, big promises, counterintuitive ideas, and quotes from your customers, from your testimonials. Those work really, really well. Hooks that I hate seeing all the time that get overused are things like statistics. They're boring. Unless there's something that is totally life-changing, like you had a study on your product and 97% of people saw less wrinkles. Okay, that's interesting, but most people have like 10% of people saw better results with our product. Boring. I want something that's going to blow me away and really grab my attention. And then another big mistake is having no promise or benefit in your headlines or hooks. This one I want to go through quickly because they're telling me I'm almost out of time. I get a lot of questions on how we test advertorials, and I think GemPages has some really cool features that are coming out that's going to be really helpful for testing your advertorials within the platform. We test them in 3 ways. The first is concept, which is your angles and your big idea. Really important. No amount of tweaking copy will fix a losing angle. So you really want to have a good concept. What do I mean by concept? The idea that you're going after. For us, it was, I remember we were scaling a red light product for knee pain as a red laser product that helped with neuropathy. We found that there were a lot of crappy knockoffs in the market that didn't work for people, and that was a problem. Our customer had tried a lot of these and they hadn't worked, and we found that the angle of red light scams worked really well with our customer because they had been scammed on other products before. So that was our concept, and that's the idea that we're going with. And if we figure out that that's working, it allows us to move to step 2, which are the needle movers that I mentioned, the top image, the lead, the first sentence, the mechanism. Those are things that now we've got the right idea, now we want to test the headline inside that idea, we want to test the top image and see if we can bump up results. And then step 3 is test the rest. This is stuff that you're going to worry about later on, where you're going to test the color of the CTA button or the text on the CTA button or little things on the page. None of these are really ever going to give you a 20 or 30% bump on your advertorial, but these are things that I call like squeezing the orange, right? So you're trying to squeeze every last drop out of that orange for conversion. And this is something that GemPages is great for, because you can just alter all those things on the page and look at the A/B testing and which is performing better. That's how we go through, and that's how we test them. This is how I do research. I'm pretty much, I'm online all the time. I'm a marketer, so I'm sure a lot of you are as well. I use email, Twitter, Reddit, spy tools, SMS. Obviously, I'm using GPT now a lot for the deep research tool. Customer reviews and customer service are a great place to find ideas for advertorials. I talk to our customer service all the time. I get them to send me recordings of calls with our customers just so I can listen in on like what are they frustrated about, what words are they using, what ideas are they talking about that I have no idea, that I haven't found out about yet, that I can use in an advertorial. And then finally, some swipes and some gifts that I'm going to give to you guys before the day is over. It's how I train copywriters to write advertorials. I'm sure a lot of you guys have copywriters on your team, or you're writing your own copy. Very effective way to get them scaled up very quickly on how to write these things. My native headline writing matrix, which I showed you a clip of earlier in the presentation. And then I've got just a whole bunch of winning advertorial swipe files. That'll be really helpful for you guys to see advertorials that have scaled over the years that you can borrow for your own designs. I will provide those with the presentation slides in a G Drive file for everybody. And if anybody wants to work with me, these are the kind of services that I offer, helping brands, write their copy, using custom AI tools within their brands. I just love marketing, so even if you guys just want to hop on a call and have a conversation, I could probably go for an hour on marketing. So you can find me on Twitter at SubsCopyChief, or just directly at email. That's my email address. And that's it. That's my presentation. Any questions?
Okay, so for the Q&A section, we have got a lot of questions from our dear audiences here. The first question is, how do you measure the success of an advertorial funnel, and what do the ideal metrics look like for the supplements industry?
In terms of measurement for advertorials, we use a tool a lot called Microsoft Clarity. Raise your hand if you've heard of Microsoft Clarity. Okay, Chris has told me they're developing something really cool that I'm super excited about, so I can do everything in GemPages. But with Clarity, that's one of our #1 measurement tools. Is it allows us to see the heat maps and the click-throughs on the advertorials, and some of the metrics that we're looking for. Like, I want to see at least 50% of the people or 40% of the people making it to that first call to action after the product introduction. So if you've written an advertorial, whether it's a listicle or a long form, and you're 75% of the way down the page and you have that product introduction and your first call to action, I want to do my best to get as many people there as possible, and the benchmarks we look at is around 50% of engagement down to that first call to action. For click-through rates, typically anything that's below like a 20% click-through rate on an advertorial, something's wrong there. It's a good place to start if you're at 18, 20, 25%, but we want to bump that up to 30 or 40%, so we're getting as many people as possible through that advertorial into the PDP page. Those are some of the biggest metrics that we look at, and we use Clarity for those things as much as possible.
Thank you for your answer. And the next question is, with the achievement of 40% increase in the conversion rate, what specific strategies did you choose?
Can you repeat that last part? What specific strategies?
Just what specific strategies, maybe your actions?
To get the higher conversion rate. So the biggest one is having a strong, unique mechanism, which I mentioned in there, which is presenting the problem that they didn't know that they had, right? So they know they have a problem of, say, something like saggy arms, but they're not aware of what's actually causing that. They may have myths in their head of like, well, it's because I weigh too much, or it's because I'm not doing the right exercises. And for a beauty brand, that $90 million beauty brand that I work with, one of the things that we found in our research was that what's actually causing their saggy arms is actually lymph fluid building up underneath the arm, and no amount of working out is going to get rid of that until you're able to clear that lymph fluid out, especially if you're somebody who's over 40. Once we found that out, we thought, wow, that's totally different, and that's showing up in our front-end ads on Facebook. We have a lot of women who are commenting, or they are clicking on ads that have to do with, I tried every kind of exercise and I cannot get rid of my flabby arm. So we knew that was something in their head, that they had this myth that if they just work out, they'll get rid of it, and that's not working for them. So we found a new cause of that problem, presented that in a story, in an advertorial, and that allowed us to scale much higher because the person comes from the ad, they go, okay, the workouts are not working for me, there must be something else going on. They land on the advertorial, and we explain to them what's actually happening beneath the surface of the skin, and they go, oh, I had no idea. And then they start thinking on their own, well, if that's my problem, then my solution must be getting rid of that lymph fluid. And they're already down that path towards what we sell, which is a device with red light that allows us to massage that stuff out, because they're already thinking, well, I guess I have to massage it, and then you show them the product. Having those stories, knowing our customer a lot better, will allow us to just to drive a better customer experience and handle their objections so that they can make a better buying decision when they